Tonight, we have a detective story with a difference. We rely on science to be objective, but scientists are as tempted by deceit as the rest of us. The Piltdown Man is the most notorious scientific fraud of all time. The villain has never been discovered, although the author, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, is among the suspects. Suppose Doyle's most celebrated fictional creation, Sherlock Holmes, were to investigate the real-life suspects in the case.
Human, Dawson. Human. Without a doubt. 3 whole weeks and no single case which offers even the briefest respite from the tyranny of the commonplace.
Come, Holmes. Well, there'll surely be something in the newspaper to divert you until luncheon. Ah, what about this? The earliest known man. The Paleolithic human skull, which has been dug up in a Sussex gravel pit, is evidently one of the most important finds ever made. There is ample warrant for saying that the skull belongs to at least as early a period as the famous Neanderthal skull, whilst it would appear from its shape to represent a still more primitive human type. Indeed, it may turn out to be the elusive missing link, definitive proof that man is indeed descended from the apes.
Gentlemen, please, everything will be revealed through the usual scientific channels at the Geological Society tonight.
Perhaps you will give us the circumstances of your find, Professor.
It's really to Mr. Charles Dawson, a local solicitor, that credit should go. Mr. Dawson's a keen amateur, and for some time he's been sending me fossil specimens from Sussex. It appears that sometime in 1908, 4 years ago, local workmen were digging gravel for a road when they found what they took to be a coconut. Well, they tossed it away, but Mr. Dawson, who happened to be passing, asked them to keep anything similar aside.
How did Mr. Dawson come to be passing, Professor?
He has frequent business at the nearby estate.
Ah.
Last year, he was handed another piece of this coconut, so he did a little digging himself, found further fragments, and some fossil hippopotamus remains. These he sent to me. It was, of course, no coconut at all, but part of the skull you are now examining. I went down as soon as I could. We found more pieces, its jawbone, flint tools, and a remarkable bone implement.
How many flint tools?
3.
Thank you. Pray continue.
Well, I've since returned to the site on several occasions, but I found nothing more of note. I unveil my reconstruction of the skull tonight.
An admirably lucid summary, Professor. Now, if I could just... Watson. How fortunate that you should be eating the Professor's cakes. This case may yet prove to be more diverting than I thought. We have just time, I think, for a brief stroll in Regent's Park.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Charles Dawson.
Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, we are here to announce the discovery of the missing link.
Watson, Observe the chewing motion of this ape. The front teeth are used considerably more than the back ones. And yet the Piltdown jaw's teeth are both worn to the same degree. A pattern artificial to both ape and man. That fact points unequivocally in one direction.
You can't mean to say the thing's been tampered with.
There is no other explanation. How often have I said, eliminate the impossible and whatever remains, however unlikely, must be true. The missing link is a cunning and calculated fake.
Good God. But are we in time to spare Professor Woodward? He's sure to be humiliated when he unveils his reconstruction tonight.
You assume, Watson, that others will spot his blunder.
Dr. Arthur Keith, Royal College of Surgeons.
I have had occasion to examine the remains on display here tonight, and I must congratulate Mr. Dawson, Professor Woodward, on the supreme importance of their finds. Moreover, the fossil animal remains found with the skull place the Piltdown Man in a period far more ancient than any man yet found.
The first man was an Englishman!
We need only point to the
Does anything unusual strike you about Charles Dawson, Watson? He looks rather ill to me, poor fellow. Septicemia, I fear.
The fact that early man
See the book under his arm.
the ability to fashion and manipulate such tools, contrary to the predictions of thousands.
The Lost Word by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. No, never read a word of him, I'm afraid.
Then you are fortunate, Watson. He is a spinner of lurid and sensational yarns of the worst sort.
Ah! What ho, Holmes? I've made a few inquiries of the locals. They're highly suspicious of strangers, but I don't think they suspected me. Anyway, I've gathered the most staggering piece of intelligence. It would appear that
There was a third man here on the night of the discovery. A cursory glance at the ground here sufficed to assure me of that point. Aha!
Well, I feel certain that this third man holds the key to the whole mysterious affair, if we but knew anything about him.
Yes, Watson. Aside from the few obvious facts that he's a French Jesuit priest, 6'3" in height, with a slight limp, we're completely in the dark.
Astonishing, Holmes.
Elementary, Watson. The prints of all three men that night are still visible. The man's height and limp I arrived at by a simple calculation from the length of his gait. His boot is of a mark worn only in France, and his calling can easily be inferred from this fragment of cloth, used uniquely in the manufacture of cassocks for the Jesuit order. I think we can now start back for Uckfield, don't you?
Oh, there's that fellow from the Geological Society meeting.
Ah, Dr. Keith. This is your first visit to the site? Sherlock Holmes. Now, Dr. Watson.
Yes, I could contain my excitement no longer.
Ah.
Oh yes, this discovery is one of the happiest events of my life. You return to Uckfield. I shall accompany you. Yes, gentlemen, I knew we should find it sooner or later, this missing link. I had long predicted that it would show the superior features of the European races. I knew that it must be here and not amongst the degenerate savages of Africa that man arose.
It is indeed a curious science that knows the facts even before they are discovered. I had imagined that one first examined the facts and then formed the theory.
Ah, but Mr. Holmes, without theories, how should we know which facts to examine?
With the theories, how can we ever be sure that we are examining the facts in an unprejudiced fashion?
We can never be sure of that. We can but strive to improve our theories.
And what better way to improve a theory than to improve the facts on which it rests? The road to Uckfield is that way, gentlemen. I have a visit to pay at Crowborough, although I must confess...
That way, Mr. Holmes.
Ah, You have an uncommonly good grasp of the local geography for a first-time visitor, Dr. Keith. Perhaps you will dispatch these telegrams, Watson.
Who are you to visit in Crowborough, huh?
Surely that is evident, Watson. Sir Arthur Conan Doyle.
I'm sorry you're feeling out of sorts, Dawson, my dear fellow. Try and come to our next seance. Oh, and this business with the missing link. Well done. You've done marvellous work, marvellous.
Thank you, Sir Arthur.
Goodbye, old boy.
Goodbye.
So, you know Charles Dawson, Sir Arthur?
Holmes. I may as well tell you now, because you will deduce it soon enough. I have just published a new novel, The Lost World. This, too, concerns the discovery of the missing link. Evolution
Is an exact science and should be treated in the same dispassionate manner. No doubt you have tinged it with your habitual romanticism.
Still the same dry and rational Holmes. We live in a new age, you know. There are more things in heaven and earth than are dreamt of in your philosophy. Madame Blavatsky. Mr. Holmes here is a skeptic. What say we show him a glimpse of the power of the psychic realm?
Madame Blavatsky is very tired. This afternoon's communications with the other side have quite exhausted her.
Perhaps I can manage the Ouija board, Esmeralda. Yes, I think I have just enough psychic energy left for that. Come, spirit world, and guide the glass. Pray tell us what will come to pass.
You see, Holmes, what does your scientific mind make of that?
Ah.
I make nothing of it, Sir Arthur. I await fuller proofs. It is a strategy I should apply equally to your own researches as to the work of the Natural History Museum.
Shh!
Hey!
The Natural History Museum. I should rather trust the judgment of my valet than that of those sneering, close-minded materialists. For years they have been trying to discredit my psychic researches. Mere trickery and fakery, they say, when the proof is here before our eyes. Men of science. We shall see who stands discredited in the end.
The spirit stir! I feel them. You, Bro.
Yes, discredit. I begin to see how that might be done.
Oh, Frau, perhaps, Madame.
Yes, Frau. I feel a German woman is with us in this room. What is your name? D. Frau D. Frau D?
Fraud?
I cannot go on. There are negative forces at work.
I accuse myself of the sin of doubt.
To doubt is human. You must pray for guidance.
I fear it is too late for that, Father. It is my cast of mind never to believe in anything without full and incontrovertible proofs.
Ah, you are a scientific man, perhaps.
Yes, as are you, Father Taillard.
You will know then that proofs in science are never full and incontrovertible. You have been examining our relics of the saints, have you not?
Superstitious trinkets.
No, Mr. Holmes. With the great truths, we must help man to believe, not hinder him. Do you understand me?
Perfectly.
The great truths in science can also be difficult to believe. Perhaps science, too, needs its holy relics. It is 40 years since the great Charles Darwin showed us our descent from the apes, and yet, in all those 40 years, no single piece of evidence, no proof that it is true. Now, at last, in this man of Piltdown, half man, half ape, we have our proof. You will not take that away from us.
I shall do whatever is necessary until I know the truth. You found how many flint tools at Piltdown that night, Father Taillard?
4.
And yet Professor Woodward has but 3 at the museum.
Then Mr. Dawson took the last to do some tests. He often did so.
I think the usual acts of contrition would be inappropriate. The grounds for doubt would appear, if anything, to have multiplied.
Oh, gracious, Holmes. What a fug.
Mrs. Hudson. If the response to my telegrams is as I anticipated, you bring something of considerable importance.
Breakfast.
The 4th flint, Watson, the 4th flint. Uckfield postmark. The hand is that of a professional man of neat and orderly disposition. Traces of ink and wax on the thumbprint suggest our correspondent is in the habit of signing and sealing documents. A solicitor or a solicitor's clerk would be a plausible hypothesis. Kindly open it, Doctor.
Well, there is but one solicitor's practice in Uckfield, Holmes. That of Charles Dawson.
Quite so.
The flint. Someone scrawled on it in the same hand. Stained by C. Dawson with intent to defraud.
As I suspected. One of Dawson's colleagues discovered the deception but could not bring himself to expose him.
So Dawson was the culprit. Good Lord.
It's quite apparent from the first, Watson. That story of the coconut was a patent fabrication. Is it possible that workmen, instructed in 1908 to watch out for fossil remains, should remember 3 years later to hand Dawson such an insignificant fragment? If Dawson were innocent, the real culprit would have had to shadow his every movement for 4 years in order to plant the bones with any hope of Dawson finding them. And you yourself observed how a stranger's repeated presence would have attracted attention. Now, only Dawson had frequent and easy access to the pit.
Astonishing, Holmes. Another case is closed.
I fear we are only beginning to prise it open. How could Charles Dawson, a mere local solicitor, have possessed the knowledge of anatomy, chemistry, dentistry, geology, paleontology to perpetrate such a cunning fraud? No, Watson, Dawson did not work alone. The manipulation of scientific opinion which made this fraud universally accepted is the work of a much more subtle and diabolical intelligence.
Good Lord. Well, we must go to Dawson at once. Confront him with your proofs and discover this other fiend's identity.
Dawson died last night. It would appear your diagnosis of septicemia was correct.
Can't think why you dragged us down here, Doyle. More of your specious tricks, no doubt.
Charlatanry. Conjurer's stunts.
We are gathered here tonight to make contact with the beyond, to reach the soul of the missing link. Gentlemen, please join hands.
Stuff and nonsense. So listen to this balderdash.
Comme c'est ridicule.
Madame Blavatsky, begin.
It is I, the missing link. Who disturbs my ancient slumbers? Who...
I would speak with you, Professor Woodwork. You have been the victim of an elaborate fraud, and the chief author of the fraud is with us in this room.
I have never heard anything so ridiculous.
Is it you, Dr. Teak? You knew you said what I would look like. But a short step then to making me so, confirming your prediction. Why go all the way to Piltdown only to turn about and not to see the pit itself, unless you had been there before?
I think your little joke has gone far enough, Doyle.
Or you, Teilhard de Chardin. You were present on that fateful night. You knew Dawson well. This discovery was the proof for which you hoped, for which you prayed. And yet you have remained in the shadows. You have shunned the acclaim which should have been yours. Why, if not for fear of incriminating yourself?
Sacrilege, blasphème!
Or you, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle? You too knew Dawson. Were you mocked just once too often by the men at the museum? Did you plan that in revenge they too should feel the sting of mockery?
No.
But you forgot one thing, the fourth flint. Dawson returned it to the pit. It may ensnare you yet.
I will not listen to this hocus-pocus a moment longer. Enough. This is a disgusting trick.
I hope I've seen the last of you, Madame Blavatsky. Here, Sir Arthur, is the source of her voices from the beyond.
Confound you, Mr. Holmes. Come on, Doris, Freddie, let's start.
Madame Blavatsky! Madame Blavatsky!
I am quite speechless with amazement, Holmes. How on earth did you manage it?
A few elementary calculations convinced me of the existence of a secret chamber. But these were mere petty bungling crooks, Watson. Their exposure is of no consequence. Great issues hang on our other fraudster. His devilish aim is the destruction of the scientific method itself. And that, above all things, I would fight to the death to defend.
You think you have sufficiently rattled the culprit for him to show himself at the pit this evening?
Oh, I'm sure of it.
A message for Dr. Watson, gentlemen.
Good gracious. Well, my brother is seriously ill. I'm to return by the first possible train. My dear fellow. Well, I can't leave you, Holmes.
No, you must go. At once. Goodbye, Watson.
Goodbye, Holmes.
Show yourself, fiend! I know you aim to destroy everything I stand for, but I am ready for you.
I little knew as I left for London that this was to be our final adventure. I never saw my dear friend Sherlock Holmes again.